When and how did you get started on the guitar?
I started when I was about 8 years old, and my oldest brother Bruce was my first teacher.
Nice. Did What was it like studying with your brother? Was there ever any sibling tensions or anything like that?
Actually, no. My oldest brother and I, to this day, in fact, we even spoke this morning. Very close. Have a very close relationship, both as brothers and as student teacher. And in the early days, I studied with him from when I was about 8 till 12 years old. If I didn't do what he wanted me to, he just punched me in the arm or another part of my body until I practiced and got it right. And then when I was 12, he got his first job at Florida State University. And so I went to study with his teacher in New York, whose name was Alberto Valdez Blaine.
Did you and Bruce ever collaborate at all, like duos or anything like that?
No, we've never played a duo in our entire life, which is actually kind of funny. When I studied with him at Florida State, of course, like I said, I studied it from age 8 till 12, and then I studied again when I went to college. I started up again with Bruce when I was, I believe, 19, through about 24, 25. And at that point, there was the late, great Thomas Humphrey, the guitar maker, wanted us to play duos, concert duos, and used to push us all the time, but we just sort of resisted. And I don't know whether I regret it or not. I mean, we could always still play today anytime we wanted to if we were around together, but that's not what our relationship is only built on. I mean, it's just built on so many things. So,
Do you feel your early experiences at the Aspen festivals helped shape you into the guitarist that you are today?
yeah, I would say so. I was encouraged to go to Aspen by my brother and by my other former teacher, Elliot Fisk, who was on the faculty there. But that was where I first got to study with Oscar Giglia, and that I began studying with Oscar in Aspen, and then went to study with him in Siena, studied with him a little bit in New York when he visited, and that was an amazing opportunity and experience to get to study with Oscar. Also, I studied, of course, with Elliot and Robert Guthrie, who were his assistants in Aspen. But Oscar was an amazing influence and someone I greatly appreciate to this day. In fact, this summer, I'm part of a festival to honor Oscar that's going to be held in Boston at the Boston Guitar Fest. I believe it's this June, and it will be in Oscar's honor. So he will be there, and we'll be honoring him, and it's going to be a great festival. I hope all will come.
What was the environment like at Aspen in those times? Like, can you explain what a typical?
Oh, in Aspen in the late 70s, there were a lot of guitarists, and it was really exciting. There were probably, I don't know, I would guess maybe 40, 45 guitarists studying there with Oscar in those days. And it was an incredible environment, really supportive, really fun. Aspen, if you've never been, it's just a spectacularly beautiful city. Very expensive, but very beautiful. And it was a great environment. Also, it was a great environment because just the level of musicians that were everywhere. I mean, I used to go to master classes of all the great violinists and hear the festival orchestra, which was just, one of the great young reading orchestras in the country, and the performance orchestra. They were, outstanding. You got to hear great soloists and great chamber music. It was an amazing environment. And for me, at age, I guess I went the first time at 17. It was a tremendous experience. Even coming from New York, it was a tremendous experience.
Are there any festivals left in the world today that kind of recreate that same sort of intense environment?
Well, the Aspen Festival, I mean, I've done many, many guitar festivals and many fun and great festivals, but the Aspen Festival was 6 weeks long, or 5 weeks, whatever the course was, but it was quite an extended period of time. And you lived in the town. When I went to Chigiana in Siena, that was the one that was very similar. I jokingly called that sort of the Aspen of Europe when I was a student there in my 20s, and that's where I studied with Oscar in Italy at the Accademia Chigiana in Siena. But these days, most of the guitar festivals that I attend are usually a week long, so it's hard to compare a week-long festival to a 4, 5, 6 week long festival. but there are many wonderful guitar festivals. I mean, this summer I'll be appearing at a few. The Boston Guitar Festival, NGW is a wonderful week-long festival. My brother always does the Domaine Forget in Canada, which is a few weeks long, and there are many other. There's just great guitar events all over the world.
Well, let's talk about your recordings a little bit. And how does recording for Naxos work? Do you get to pick what you're recording, or do they approach you with a project?
Well, the first two recordings actually, they wanted me to record the music of Fernando Sor because that was the first project. That's when they were just starting what they called their guitar project, and I was lucky enough to be one of the first people on board. So after I did the second Sor record, I remember saying to Norbert Kraft, that's an awful lot of Fernando Sor, whose music I love, but that's a lot of Sor to learn. I said, I'd really like to do something else. And he said, well, what would you like to do? You've earned it. And so that's when all the other recordings, I picked the composer. And most of the repertoire. There were certainly certain pieces that Norbert, as the director of the project, felt were important to record. And he would say, well, let's record this one or that one. And I'd say, well, that's fine. Or, how about we would certainly discuss it. But I chose the Ponce. I really wanted to record the 24 Preludes, which was the first Ponce record, and I wanted to record the Merits, the Barton Klang. I really wanted to record the Laurel. Really, all the other records I did were more, not that I didn't love to do the Sor, but they were more my choice and therefore labors of love.
And when you're picking pieces for those, do you ever get caught up in, well, this is a very important piece, I better record this, or is it just something that you pick music that you like, basically?
Well, it's a combination of those things. With the Sor, for example, I mean, they chose. The first recording was the big Sor sonatas, and Norbert said to me, and it was a great honor to be chosen to do that, because in a lot of ways, while those works aren't played that often, they're the largest and maybe most important works of Fernando Sor. I'm talking about Opus 22 and Opus 25. So it was a big honor to record those. It was a tremendous learning experience for me. It was the second record I would ever make, and it was very stressful, very difficult to do, as all records are. And I did it very quickly. I literally learned the entire record in about 3 months to record, and that was really from scratch, reading and learning about 65 to 70 minutes of music. I'm not sure exactly how much is on there. And the two big sonatas, which are both well over 20 minutes, are not little pieces. Not only in time, but in musical structure and form. There's a lot to do there. Not your typical guitar keys, what we think of as Sor guitar keys. They're in C major and Opus 22 is in C major, for example, and both of them wander through many keys, flat keys that we don't often explore as regularly as guitarists. And it was a challenge. The second Sor record, Norbert asked me to read through Opus 30 through Opus 60 and decide an hour-long segment that I would wish to record. So in a lot of ways, I chose the second Sor record as well. But I sight-read through all of Sor from Opus 30 through the final, well, I guess it's Opus 60, I think is the last one, or Opus 61, I can't remember exactly. And I got to record what at that point was the new Sor Fantasy, which had already been recorded by Pepe Romero, but I got to make the second recording of that piece, and that was my choice to do. After that, it was really the next recording was Ponce, and I had said I thought that there was not. My feeling was there wasn't really a popular, well-known, well-distributed recording of the 24 Preludes, which were pieces that, while I had not played all of them, in fact, I'd probably played just a couple of the standard ones, I thought were really great pieces that it would be nice to have them all in one place that would be easy to get to, and it was something I wanted to do as a project. And then the test was, well, how do we fill up that record? And we realized there were so many wonderful small Ponce works that it would really be easy to do because it would take up the time, and there's a lot of great pieces that some even had never been recorded, and others had been recorded, some very well, maybe others not so well. So it was a pleasure to do that record.
So what's on your plate next for recording?
Right now, the last few years, I've had a few offers, and I really haven't, strangely enough, wanted to make any records. recording is very time intensive. I have to practice a certain way very diligently, and it's really not something that mentally I've wanted to do right now. And so I've been toying around with a 19th century recording of a Carulli Sonata, Lignani Fantasy, and some Zani di Ferranti, but I don't know that I'm going to do that. It's funny because a couple of my friends are always after me to continue to record, and my students as well, and I just don't have that bug right now. I love to teach. I love to play. I love to spend time with my family. That's really what's important to me. I know a lot of guitarists are sort of driven by what their newest record is. I'm really not that way. I had a wonderful opportunity with Naxos in the 90s for about, I don't know how many years that was now. But I got a little tired of it at the time, at the end of it, because it was really exhausting. And it's just not really what I'm looking forward to doing right now.